Baruch Dayan Ha'emet. Blessed be the judge of truth. If you have a cell phone or a pager, please turn it off or set it to stun so that we don't get the, that's a Star Trek thing. It's been a long time. Because people don't know you're at a funeral. Baruch Dayan Ha'emet. We praise the judge of truth. We begin with Psalm 121 for our dear Hermien. Asa enai el haharim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. Al yiten lamot raglecha, al yanum shomrecha. Hine lo yanum velo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomrecha, Adonai tzilcha al yad yaminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka ve'erech balayla. Adonai yishmarcha mikol ra yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai yishmar tzeidcha v'oecha me'ata va'ad olam. I lift up mine eyes unto the mountains, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. The Lord will not let your foot give way, your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. He is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will guard you from all harm. He will guard your soul, your going and your coming, now and forever. Death has taken our beloved, our dearly departed Hermien Schneider. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence there is lamentation. In their tears there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, and be with them. For Hermien's love that united so many people in life, and which death cannot sever. For her companionship that we shared along life's path, and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and her mind, which brought joy and happiness, and which now are a precious remembrance. For all of these and more, we give our thanks to God. It is a time of grief, and so we listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures once again from Sefer Tehillim, from the book of Psalms. It tells us of our kinship with the Creator, in light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death. Together let us recite the 23rd Psalm in English. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It's a privilege to call forward the boys, Avery, Howard, and Mark, to speak words of eulogy of their dear mother. And then we'll have the grandchildren come forward and speak. There's a microphone here, and nobody out there in the Ethernet will be able to hear you unless you come here. Okay. No one will be able to hear you.
Okay.
You should probably drop the mask to talk so they can hear you.
Hi. Can everyone hear me okay? First of all, thank you, everyone, for coming. We were joking earlier that my mom probably had more children and grandchildren that she's adopted as an extension of her sons and her daughter-in-laws and her grandchildren than anybody I know. More people called her grandma than I could even begin to count. Today we're saying goodbye to just a wonderful, wonderful person in my mom. Unfortunately, I'm saying goodbye to two people. I'm saying goodbye to my mom, and I'm saying goodbye to my best friend. Mom was there through anything and everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. There wasn't a better life coach, therapist, cheerleader, friend. She was an amazing person. There was nothing we couldn't talk about. There was nothing she wasn't willing to add her bit of wisdom and knowledge to. For a woman who just went through high school and not beyond, she was one of the smartest people I know in all facets of our lives. And I turned to her for everything. And I told my daughter Gabby this morning she's got some big shoes to fill, because she's going to have to be my therapist and my coach and my cheerleader.
It's going to be expensive.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? It already is. So again, I could go on forever, but I just, anybody who knew her knew that she had a huge heart, and she was willing to help in any way she can. If you needed money and she had $8, she'd find a way to give you 10. If you needed a shoulder to cry on, she was there to be that shoulder. For many, many, many years, both when Gabby was growing up and when Gabby was out of the house, she and I had Saturday night dinners. That was our thing. We'd sit, we'd have a drink, we'd talk, see what's going on in life. Again, the good, the bad, and everything in between. She was pretty much my first call when things went well at work. She was my first call when things weren't going so well. Fortunately, she had enough bail money on the night of my indiscretion, so she was even there for that. So there were no lines to be drawn. She will be sorely missed every minute of every day by a whole lot of people. There's a song by Cole Swindell called My Dad's Old Number. And he talks about every time something good happens, every time something bad happens, he wants to call his dad's old number, and a new person has it right now. And he just over and over again apologizes for bothering them, but it was Dad's old number, and that was his go-to. And that's going to be the reality, and that's going to be difficult. And I'm going to miss her with all my heart and my soul, and I know a lot of other people are going to. So I'm going to end it there, and I will let Avery come up and say his bit. But again, thank you all for coming out. We really appreciate it. Thank you all. These are big shoes to fill. And speaking of big shoes to fill, things that we don't often talk about, and the role that our mom played in all our lives is the fact that we lost my dad in 1995. And the first thing that she said to us is, I'm going to be here for the both of you. For the both of us, I'm sorry. That she said, I know I can never replace what you had with your dad, but I will be there for you. I will be there for him, and always know that. And I'll never forget that. And she did. She took it and covered for the two of them. If it was school plays, if it was ball games, if it was practices, it was dinner, whatever it was, she said, no, that I'm here for you and Dad. I was going to go, just kind of wing it. There's so many thoughts and memories that I have, but a buddy of mine sent me a text that provided me with all the material that I need, and I'm going to read it to you if you bear with me, because if this doesn't sum up who my mom was and our dad, because they were joined at the hip, and now they are truly, once again, joined at the hip. I'm going to read a text message I got this morning from my dear old friend, Michael Kaufman, who I met Mike, one of the first kids I met on the playground in first grade. So wrap your head around that, how long we've been friends. I met Brian Quate and Michael Kaufman on the playground at Fairmount Elementary School. I remember the basketball hoops. They had the steel mesh. Remember the steel mesh nets? I'm dating myself. Didn't quite ever get that concept, but anyways, Michael Kaufman reached out to me this morning, and he said, Avery, my deepest condolences to you, Howard and Mark. Your mother, like mine, was a great person who I liked, adored, and admired very much, especially during those old Edgewood days and our time on Schneider Memorial Field. I'm currently in Florida, always dumb as a fox. Good for you, Mikey. I'm in Florida, so I can't make the service, but please know that I'm there for you in spirit. Best to you and Maggie, your old friend, Criff. And then within 30 seconds, I had another note. Avery, back in the day, your parents were like second parents to me. Your dad, Jerry, always told me the tossed salad before dinner, Mike, was always the most important meal there was. The most important part of the meal. Even Dad, God bless him, 56 years ago, he was with his health and salads and fruits. He said, I never forgot that amongst many other things your mom and dad taught me, and I think of them often. Your dear old friend, Criff. Again, if that's not mom and dad, we often joke that our kitchen back in the old days was like a pantry for wayward kids. If you were a friend of a friend of a friend, as long as you were polite, you knew when you walked through our house to shake my dad's hand and say hello to my mom. You didn't dare walk by without saying hello. And I wish today, I'm going to show my age, that kids knew that and respected that. And that's a lesson for another time. But as long as you wiped your feet, God help you if you brought mud in my mom's kitchen because you heard about it. And one thing I'll never, as long as I live, forget is that Mom had a big pot of spaghetti on the kitchen, and we all came in from the backyard, and everyone, all the guys threw their mitts in the kitchen. There were mitts all over the place. And Tommy Begam looked over and lifted the pot to see what my mom was cooking. It was a big, huge pot of spaghetti. And it was tomatoes, and she was stewing and had the garlic bread and a salad. And he looked down and put his finger in the sauce and tasted it. My mom walked over to him, said, Tommy, I love you to death. If you ever stick your finger in my pot of spaghetti again, so help me God, I will cut it off. Now go wash your hands and grab a plate. That was Mom and Dad. I have I'm just going to share one thought, and this summed up everything. Mom was always, again, there for all the games, all the practices. We talked about it last night. The loyalty, devotion's one word that comes to mind. I'll go back to 1978. I was a junior in high school, And I don't need to tell anyone that grew up in Cleveland what spring sports, whether it's track or baseball, are like in the first and second week in March. Well, we had a game. I was pitching that day, and there was Mom, came up the field in her coat and her boots. It was probably 40 degrees. It felt like it was 20 degrees, one of those cold rains. And there was Mom on those metal bleachers sitting there in her coat and a winter coat and a blanket wrapped around the coat in gloves, and sat there for 7 stupid innings and watched me pitch in the rain and sat there, and that summed up who Mom was. Or if she had to get out her little scale and cut up the meat, Mark, I could see it like it was yesterday. Cut up the meat. I see some guys in here who appreciate this. Ginn, Stu Smiley, because my brother Mark had to make weight for his next match. So here's Mom with her little scale weighing out his food, so there's just enough that he did not overexceed what he could eat and make weight. And there was my dad looking at my mom saying, Hermien, are we going to eat anytime this week? So that, I'm going to leave it at that because I could go on forever. Mom, we love you. We miss you with all our hearts. We'll be together forever through every upcoming event, every ball game, every movie, every time you could, every wedding, every birth. If I swear to you, if I see Andy Williams on a special, I'm going to call you and tell you to turn on Channel 23 because Andy Williams is singing Moon River. I love you. Thank you.
So I told my brothers that I've spoken enough the last 6 months. They didn't need to hear me today, and I was going to take the day off. But we came across something from my mom, and I'm not sure she intended for us to read it, but we decided that we should. And she had all her paperwork and all her files, and in the front of it was this. And it says, read this first. If you are in this drawer, I am not. I love you all so very much. That's how it started. Then from there, I want to thank you for being such wonderful children, for bringing both Dad and me such joy and happiness, for your beautiful families, which are second to none. I have been so blessed. Even with the loss of Dad, I have had so much more than most other people. Howard, I hope you find someone with whom to share all the love you have to give. You deserve it. That would be my final wish. I'm not going to go on and on. Just know that I've always believed I was brought to this earth to have a family and to give and receive love. And I have accomplished that from the time I was 17 and met Dad, up until whatever day you are reading this. My cup has runneth over. What you all have given me is priceless, and I have loved every moment of being his wife, your mother, in parentheses to Maggie and Heidi as well, and grandmother to my wonderful grandchildren. Each of them, in their own way, has made my life worth living. I just always remember how very much I love you all and will always love you no matter where I am. Thank you for being mine. Always be proud of being Schneider's. I love you, Mom. So, the only thing I'm going to add to that is, if you knew my mom, you're probably saying, that's Hermien, to a T. If you didn't know my mom well or didn't know her at all, you're saying, okay, I see what they're talking about. Now I get a flavor for it.
And boy, I wish I knew her.
And boy, I wish I knew her. Mom, Dad, you've done your job. You know, the only thing I'm going to add is people talk about family. They talk about it takes a village. They talk about when all else fails, turn to your family. And whatever else is said, I can promise you, in the last 6+ months, this family's been unbelievable, and I couldn't ask for more. And they did, Mom and Dad couldn't have done it better. And these last few months have showed it. Thank you.
And to all of those words spoken as a prayer, let us say Amen. Would the grandchildren come forward, please?
All right. I'm going to try and get through this, and if I can't, then I have a few backups behind me. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Matthew, Mark and Heidi's middle child, and this is my wife, Alicia. On top of everything that has already been said, I wanted to share 2 things about my grandma. First, my grandma had a garden in front of her house that she maintained for my Papa Jerry after he passed. He loved to garden. It was one of his favorite things to do, something that he found to be very soothing. And I think her maintaining that garden was a way of honoring him. But even more than that, I like to think that my grandma thought of that garden as her family, and that by maintaining that, it was her way of telling him that she'll take care of everything and everyone. Grandma did that better than anyone. In this garden, she also had a stone that stated, "If tears could build a stairway and memories a lane, I'd walk right up to heaven and bring you home again." I know she is now with Papa, and I now repeat this message to them both. Grandma and Papa, if tears could build a stairway and memories a lane, I'd walk right up to heaven and bring you home again. Grandma, the garden is in good hands, and we promise that it will be maintained for generations to come. The other thing I wanted to share were a few items on my grandma's bucket list. The first we were able to check off, and that was to see Alicia and I become husband and wife. The fact that she was able to be there and be herself was truly a miracle, and that one that we will forever be grateful for. Thank you, Grandma. You will never know how much it meant to us to have you there that day celebrating such a joyous occasion. There are 2 items that we were not able to give her, and for that I want to apologize. The first one was to attend an Ohio State Buckeyes game. She told me all the time how she wanted to come to a game with us and cheer on our Buckeyes. I lost my spot. It was a dream of hers, and I know she would have thrived at the shoe. I just wish I could have made that happen for her. The next shouldn't come to a surprise for a lot of you who knew her, and that is a great grandchild. Grandma may have wanted that more than anything in the world, and nothing would have made Alicia and I happier than to give that to her. I'm sorry that we didn't listen and take care of business earlier. I can promise you that when we are ready to have a child, they will hear all about their Nana, and we will do everything that we can to make them feel even a fraction of the love that you would have given them. And we love you, Grandma, so much. We will miss you. Thank you for so many great years. You will always be in our hearts. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, thank you all for coming. Sorry. Hey, dollies. Sweethearts, baby girls. Just a few of the many nicknames our grandma had for you all. Our grandma Hermien was a woman of discipline, great discipline. For example, she never stole a baby. No matter how cute it was, or how tired she was of waiting for a great-grandchild, and yes, the pressure is still on. But she was less disciplined when it came to spoiling those that she loved. For us grandchildren and the grandsons, we got lamb chop at night. She would spend about 2 weeks' worth of groceries on a single night of red meat and Texas toast. For the granddaughters, there were colossal-sized stuffed animals, many petty nights, and do-over Thanksgivings if a grandchild was out of town for the real Thanksgiving. And then there were the pool days, where we would swim and she would bake in the sun. She loved the sun. She went to everything. She went to our soccer games, gymnastics, film events, cheerleadings, and graduations. She was everyone's biggest fan and supporter, and she was endlessly generous with that love. If you knew her your whole life or for a day. If you love someone, she loved them too. And that goes especially if you had 4 legs and a tail. Remy, Charlie, Jameson, and Bridget are but a few of the beloved Schneider canines. But her additional child, of course, was Rambo, who she'd feed like an actual child, cooking him chicken and rice for dinner. As the eldest grandchild, I got to know my Papa Jerry for 5 years before I passed away. And there were 5 great years worth of monster movies, playing in his garden, Batman. Our grandma, her love and devotion to him was everything and constant. And she really poured that love into every relationship she had, be it family, friends of friends, and strange babies on the streets. My brother had a few words I'd like to say as well. Just as a best friend and a confidant that anyone could ask for. She supported us no matter what, had the biggest heart. We could go to her for anything, and she would never judge. We all treasured her birthday cards that would turn into novels. She is the rock of the family, the matriarch. And we just want to impart that half of the love and wisdom that she had. So I will leave you with a few words from our grandma herself on that wisdom and encouragement. She always shared all that she knew. So everyone, let's hope that this is our year. She'd wish us that every New Year, and first she'd call it midnight, and then over the years she'd call it 6 p.m. But Still counts. And whatever you buy yourself, use it or wear it in good health. Never waste a shot. All right, dollies, that's all I know. I love you, Grandma.
And to all of those words spoken as prayers, beautiful, lovely prayers, as only grandchildren can speak them, let us say Amen. So we gather at a very difficult time for this family, and we mourn and we lovingly recall your dear sister, aunt. Oh, is niece, yeah, come on over here. Niece Erin Doyle. I'm glad I remembered before I really forgot. Please come forward to speak about your dear aunt.
So Aunt Hermien saw this post on social media years ago, and it encapsulated how she felt about her boys and wanted it read at her funeral. I'll always need my sons no matter what age I am. My sons have made me laugh, made me proud, made me cry, hugged me tight, seen me fall. Cheered me up, kept me strong, and driven me crazy at times. But my sons are a promise from God that I will have friends forever.
Amen. Thank you. So we lovingly recall our dear Hermien. She was a grandmother, a relative, a sister, an aunt, a mother, a surrogate mother and grandma because she welcomed you into her family. She was a loyal friend and a relative and a confidant and an advisor. Her Hebrew name was Chaya Rachel Bat Aharon. Chaya means one who gives life. And Rachel is actually a loving little lamb, which is an interesting play on words since she would make the grandsons and the family baby lamb chops. She was an angel of a woman in many ways because she was protective of her family and her friends. She was loyal, she was loving, she was nurturing, she was sentimental, she was funny, she was witty, she was tough in the sense of, you know, whatever the difficulty, whatever the heartbreak, it was not going to break her. And she was bound and determined, like our matriarch Rebecca. That's what the word Rivka, the name Rivka means, bound and determined. She was bound and determined to do whatever she needed to do to move forward. As the family spoke about her last night, we all sat around a big table, a lot of eating, a lot of beverages. It was probably couple hours we spent time together. And it was a reminder of a powerful biblical message and a powerful biblical teaching from the book of Exodus. We're still in the book of Exodus now, and this is from the very beginning of Sefer Shemot, the very beginning of Exodus. At the very beginning of Exodus, you see there are women who work with their hands to nourish and sustain others. Please take a look, beginning of Exodus. And the same can be said of your dear Hermien. With her hands, she nourished and she sustained others, and she nourished and sustained you. Here are the three things which occurred just before the Hebrews, our ancestors, became slaves in the land of Egypt. First, in the beginning of the book of Exodus, the Pharaoh commanded the Hebrew midwives, Shiphrah and Puah, when you deliver the Hebrew women, look at the birth stool. If it's a boy, kill it. If it's a girl, let her live. However, Shiphrah and Puah defied the Pharaoh in the first act of civil disobedience in the whole Bible, and they did not kill those baby boys. So with their hands, they saved those children. The second example, the birth of Moses. His mother Yocheved and his older sister Miriam, they hid him, they nourished him, they carried him, and eventually they set him afloat in the Nile River to save him. And then the third set of hands is the Pharaoh's daughter. The Midrash gives her the name Batya, which means daughter of God. Batya brought in that boy and raised that child to be a leader. So those were spirited and determined and creative and intelligent and loving women, and they were tough. They told you what they thought, and the same can be said of your dear Hermien. She used her hands to give you love. Like the birthday and holiday cards that you mentioned that she wrote on every single open spot, front and back, she told you of her love for you. Hermien Freiberg was born in Cleveland on October 25th, 1938. Her parents of blessed memory, Aaron and Sophie. She was the youngest of three. Her older brother, Alvin, is of blessed memory. Shirley, we offer our profound condolences to you. And remember your husband, Ronnie, of blessed memory. And Hermien, the third child of blessed memory. She went to Heights High School, right up the street. Her father owned a dry cleaning shop, and Hermien worked there. Jerry Schneider was a bagger at a grocery store up the street. And they met, they dated, they married. They married on 5/7/57, which is what they called it, 5/7/57. So May 7th, 1957. And they shared a loving and devoted marriage of about 38 years, 37, 38 years. I didn't have the exact date when your father passed. At the time of Jerry's passing in 1995. And there have been many, many blessings of family. She was an aunt. There have been children and grandchildren and boyfriends and girlfriends and wives and people she brought into the family because she liked you and then she loved you. And people who were bereaved, Hermien befriended you and made you one of hers. Grandchildren's friends became like her own grandchildren, even if she threatened to cut off a finger. And her world and her family, her world was her family and her extended family. So, blessed with children. We have Avery, Maggie. We have Howard. We have Mark and Heidi. And also, you may not know, but she gave birth to a little boy named Craig. He's of blessed memory. He died after about 3 or 5 weeks. And so that was always a shot at the heart for her. We have grandchildren, 6 grandchildren. Brandon, his girlfriend Rebecca. We have Sam. We have Gabrielle. We have Emily and her boyfriend Chris. We have Matthew and his wife Alicia. No pressure. Actually, it is no pressure. Anybody who's married will tell you, take your time, but don't take too much time. And Jessica. One additional thing to what the boys said. After Jerry died, she went out on 2 dates. That was it, just 2 dates. And she realized she was really not interested in anybody else standing in Jerry's place. And her wedding ring, she took his wedding ring and she melded it together with her wedding ring. So she always had him with her. And she wore that wedding ring every day, except for the last couple of months when she was in a facility and they wanted to make sure that she kept the wedding ring. Sometimes you have to be concerned about that. She knew how to make people feel loved. Friends Jonathan and Karen Popper said, she took care of us after our parents died, and she made us like her kids, and she made our kids like her grandchildren. And it was much more than we could have ever expected. She loved the sun. The picture you have here, boy, she looks tanned and fit. Look at that. Yeah, it's a beautiful picture. She was tanned. She loved the sun. She took trips with Aunt Shirley and Uncle Ronnie. And she was like their third wheel, and that was okay. She was also great friends with Heidi's mom. She was an amazing cook and baker. Her favorite holiday? Any holiday the family gathered together. She was actually partial to Thanksgiving. However, if the family gathered on a Monday, that would be her favorite holiday too. You could count on her, whether it was taking Maggie to therapy appointments or going to school functions or any number of other things. You could count on her. You could count on her every moment. She's been consistent. She was determined. She willed herself, as you heard, to go to Matt and Alicia's wedding. She had all sorts of medical issues going on, but by the time the wedding happened that Friday, she looked great. And she had a wonderful time, and she would not have missed it. And on the way out, as the boys pushed her out in her wheelchair, she, with a smile and with plenty of sass, I think she quipped to Jonathan, "Hey, get out of the way. Yeah, I'm coming through. Get out of the way." I think she used an expletive too, but I'm not using that expletive. I mean, I'm the rabbi after all. I'm not supposed to do that. On April 23rd, 2021, she was in a car accident, and it's been very difficult. It was very difficult for her to recover from those injuries. And this past Rosh Hashanah, things began to slip. She and Avery and other family members who have come to Temple Israel Ner Tamid over the years, either for the holidays or for Jerry's Yortzeit, it just wasn't possible for her to join us in person. And we missed him. We missed her. They've only been members of the congregation, she and Jerry. I know he's a blessed memory, but they joined in 1989. I mean, that's all. It's only 33 years. And then after Jerry and Hermien joined in January of 1989, Avery and Maggie joined in, it's like September of 1989. They're also long-termers. It's a beautiful thing. So it's a hole in the congregation. Rabbi Fred founded the congregation in April of 1985. It took him 4 whole years to join, but that's really not very long. So by October 2021, she wasn't able to leave the house and go do the myriad of things that she wanted to do, and that made her very sad. And those who knew and loved her, it made them sad too. And last Monday, actually, it's only 2 days ago, she'd been in hospice at Montefiore, and Monday night, the boys and Sam and I, we prayed the Vidui prayer with her in her hospice bed and the confessional prayer. And then about 4 hours later, she breathed her last very, very peacefully. And we're all very, very grateful for that. And even in our sadness, there's comfort in the knowledge that now there's no more pain or deterioration of her body or her mind. There's just rest and wholeness and peace. And just as Shabbat is a day of rest, so now for our dear Hermien, it's a time of rest and wholeness and peace. Her soul is returning to God and to be with the souls of her dear husband, Jerry, her dear relatives, her dear friends, and the ancestors of our people. We actually learned this in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 7. So you get to look at the beginning of Exodus and look at Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 7. The dust returns to the earth as it was, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. We will place the body in the ground. It will become dust over the course of time. The spirit is already on its way to be with God. The spirit returns to God. And one day, all of us will join our loved ones in Olam Haba. Olam Haba is the world to come. And the world to come, Olam Haba is a spiritual time. It's a time. This is a place. Olam Haba is not a place. It's a time. And you'll be together with your dear Hermien's soul. Your soul will be with hers again when you go. And no one should be in a hurry. And at the same time, we know that when we go, we'll be together with her. We're sending along a well-prayed-from Passover Haggadah with her in the casket, because not only is it a mitzvah to escort the body of your loved one to its final resting place, but also holy books of our tradition. And we're sending a Haggadah because, well, it's a family gathering with food. And also, it's a time for us to recall and give thanks for our ancient liberation from Egyptian bondage. We're free today because of God's deliverance, those many, many, many years ago. And now, dear Hermien, although we're sad, it's also, she's liberated from this illness and this pain. Your memories are filled to overflowing, and we give thanks to God for this gift of life. 83 years. We would have hoped for more, but we would have hoped for more in good health. And as you think of her, please be a good friend and companion. Write cards, make phone calls, leave voicemail messages. The grandkids have like 20 voicemail messages apiece on their phones because they were just so sweet, the messages. She was pumping you up and telling you how proud you were, and you didn't even really do anything, you thought. But there's a message. Beautiful messages. And you should try to find a way to get a pewter mug salad, the one from Chagrin Road. Even though it's not there anymore, but there must be a way she can get a pewter mug salad and enjoy it, just like she used to enjoy those with you. And do the many things that bring honor to her memory. And do them in her loving memory. For only through our deeds can the world be compensated for the loss of this good and decent woman. And so we conclude with words from the first chapter of the book of Job. Adonai natan, v'Adonai lakach, yehi shem Adonai mevarach. The Lord hath given, the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And let us say, Amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, yimru, amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. May God, who causes peace in the high heavens, cause peace to rain down upon us, all Israel, and upon the soul of our dearly departed Hermien Schneider, Chaya Rachel, Bat Aharon. In a moment, we'll rise for El Malei Rachamim. Just a couple of quick announcements. The family, if you wish to contribute in her loving memory, contribute to St. Jude's Children's Hospital or Rescue Village or the Shaker Schools Foundation.org, or another place that you want, but think of those places first. We will be gathering after we go to Mount Olive. We'll be going back to the house of Mark and Heidi. That's at 5059 Cheswick. You will have no cell phone service at their house, so don't worry about it. It just drops out. My 87-year-old mom was calling me last night at this condolence call, and it kept dropping off, and I hear her, basically screaming into the phone, in love, but screaming into the phone, why am I not answering? So when I called her later, she said, oh, that's why that happened. So you have no cell phone signal, so don't try to do anything. And the family will be there. When we get back to the house, we'll do a quick little minyan, do Kaddish, and we'll start noshing from the Shiva tray. Family will be there tonight until 9 p.m., and tomorrow from 1 to 4 and 6 to 9. She'll be on, I imagine, many Kaddish lists, but she'll be on her Kaddish list for the next month. Every day for 30 days we'll say Kaddish for her. And the religious school kids and the Hebrew school kids need reps in the Kaddish, and they will all be saying Kaddish for Hermien. So please rise for El Malei Rachamim. Into your care, O God, we entrust the spirit of our dear Hermien Ruth Schneider. Chaya Rachel Bat Aharon. For you keep faith with your children in death as in life. Sustain us that we may meet with serenity the mysteries that lie ahead, knowing that when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you, O God, are with us, a loving friend in whom we put our trust. You are the light of our life, our hope in eternity. El Malei Rachamim, שוכן במרומים, המצא מנוחה נכונה, תחת כנפי השכינה, עם קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים, את נשמת חיה רחל בת אהרון, שהלכה לעולמה, בעל הרחמים, יסתיריה בסתר כנפיו לעולמים. ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה, אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח בשלום על משכבה. ונאמר Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to our dear Hermien. She has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. Please wait for the funeral directors to come forward to give us instructions to go to the cemetery. Thank you very much.